In the year 2100, humanity crossed a dangerous line. Building a prison on the moon. It was presented as a breakthrough in security, a rehabilitation program for the most dangerous convicts. But very soon, the dark secret behind that project would be revealed. Isolated, controlled by artificial intelligence, and subjected to an environment that transformed body and mind. The punishment in the Lunar Penal Colony was not the loss of freedom. It was the loss of the planet you belonged to. Subscribe for more stories about the future. In 2098, a consortium of governments and corporations announced the creation of the first lunar prison. The pitch was simple: isolate dangerous individuals and rehabilitate them using a system run entirely by artificial intelligence. A more efficient model, they said. Safer. Public opinion was divided. For some, it was only fair. For others, it was disturbing. What if an innocent person ended up trapped on the moon? But the project went ahead without resistance. It was technological, cheap in the long run, and politically attractive. A perfect solution, at least on the surface. No one asked any more questions. No one could. The moon was too far away to check what was really happening there. The first ships departed with 847 prisoners, all officially classified as extremely dangerous. But among them were also other profiles: activists, whistleblowers, dissidents who had made the authorities uncomfortable. The files were sealed. No one knew who was there for their actions and who was there for political convenience. During the transfer, the inmates wore neural restraint suits, exoskeletons that blocked any voluntary movement. A system of electrical pulses regulated every muscle. Raising an arm, turning the head, or clenching a fist was impossible without authorization from the central system. Only breathing and blinking remained under their control. Rebellion was impossible. Attacking was impossible. Attempting to escape was pointless. The moon was the perfect confinement. Upon entering the colony, the environment itself also served as a means of control. Thermal sensors, biometric cameras, and artificial intelligence monitored oxygen levels, rations, movements, and emotional states. There were no human guards. They were not needed. Over time, it became clear that the purpose of the project did not match the official narrative. Reintegration was not the goal. The goal was to test. On the one hand, a fully automated model of psychological control, capable of shaping human behavior without direct intervention. On the other, an ideal environment for studying how the body could be transformed far from Earth. Low gravity, constant radiation, mandatory treatments, and a system that recorded every change, no matter how small. The inmates had not only been isolated, they had been turned into prototypes, a test of obedience and a test of evolution. For the first time in history, human beings had been exiled from their own planet, and what was happening to them on the moon had nothing to do with rehabilitation. It was an experiment, and it had only just begun. Isolated in the vacuum of space, subjected to 1/6 gravity, and with every movement monitored by artificial intelligence, the inmates soon discovered that the colony was not a rehabilitation center. It was an environment designed to push them to their limits. Daily interventions fell into two categories. The first, presented as medical treatments, included calibrated rations and mandatory injections that the AI adjusted without explanation. After each dose, some felt their bodies become lighter. Others felt their pulse slow, and still others felt an almost artificial mental clarity. The changes were subtle, but constant. The second category was more disturbing. Behavioral adjustment sessions. The inmates were taken to chambers where they could not move a single muscle without the system's permission. The AI controlled the exoskeleton, so they could only watch and listen. In these sessions, they were exposed to simulated emotional situations, conflicts, arguments, threats. But they couldn't intervene. They couldn't run away. They couldn't defend themselves. They had to observe everything with their bodies completely still. The goal was not rehabilitation, but to force the brain to react under pressure without allowing physical reaction. A calculated dissociation. In other protocols, the AI showed them sequences designed to trigger fear, guilt, or tension, while modulating light, sound, and chemical microstimuli to push them into extreme mental states. It was negative emotional training, repeated until the response began to change. Upon leaving, many described the same feeling, as if they had experienced something intense without being able to participate in it. As if a part of their personality had been molded without their consent. The effects were noticeable even outside the chambers. Impulses that were unnaturally suppressed, emotions that arose for no clear reason, and moments when several inmates reacted the same way to different stimuli. As if their minds were being calibrated to the same pattern. Between physical and psychological therapies, the prisoners understood something terrifying. They were not there to be punished, nor to be rehabilitated. They were there to be reconfigured. Each day took them a little further away from who they had been. and a little further away from what Earth still called human. At first, the changes seemed like simple effects of the lunar environment. Sharper vision in dim light, smoother movements in low gravity, wounds that healed unusually quickly. Minor anomalies, until they ceased to be minor. The bodies began to adjust in ways that no protocol had anticipated. Denser bones, resistant muscles despite minimal gravity, efficient lungs in the colony's sealed atmosphere. The AI reinforced treatments, recalibrated doses, as if responding to a process that was advancing on its own. But the most disturbing thing did not happen to the bodies. It happened between them. Group behavior began to change in almost imperceptible ways. Conflicts that would previously have led to tension were now resolved with strange ease. Tasks that used to be done alone began to be shared without discussion. As if there were a new intuition about who should do what and when. Spontaneous dynamics formed. Teams collaborating without supervision, routines flowing with unusual efficiency. Collective decisions made without words, as if everyone shared the same emotional direction. It was not obedience. It was not discipline. It was a silent, growing cohesion that did not appear in the original psychological protocols. As the cycles passed, the colony began to reorganize itself. Sectors that had been inactive for months sprang back to life without external command. Complex maintenance tasks were carried out by groups that anticipated the AI's instructions, as if they had learned to interpret the system better than the system itself. And then the incidents began. These were not chaotic failures, but small alterations too consistent to be accidental. Propulsion systems revised without authorization, orbital trajectory calculations stored on secondary terminals. Reconfigurations in the docking modules that did not match any recorded maintenance protocol. Each adjustment seemed insignificant, but together they formed a pattern. They were not studying the colony as a structure. They were studying it as a vehicle. The cameras recorded scenes that were difficult to interpret. Groups working in absolute silence. Coordinating movements without discussion. As if they all anticipated each other's actions without the need for verbal exchange. Tasks that used to cause friction became almost automatic. Responsibilities rotated without conflict, and efficiency increased so sharply that some analysts began to wonder if the colony was following a new type of organization, not human, not artificial, but hybrid. And then something happened that no security protocol had contemplated. In a coordinated sequence that lasted less than 2 hours, all the neural containment exoskeletons stopped working. It was not a technical failure. The inmates had found a way to disable the locking system. They removed them. The cameras recorded the exact moment. Hundreds of exoskeletons abandoned in hallways, cameras, and common modules, perfectly aligned, as if they had been placed there intentionally, as if it were a message. For the first time since their arrival, the inmates regained full control of their bodies. And with that, something more dangerous. Complete physical autonomy in an environment they knew better than anyone else. The AI attempted to reactivate the containment systems. It failed. The inmates had already reconfigured the security protocols from within. From that moment on, reports stopped coming in. Psychological evaluations were suspended. The inmates stopped responding to any communication protocols. All that remained were the external metrics: sensors, cameras, energy consumption records. And all the readings converged on the same pattern: an organization that was no longer human in the traditional sense. A collective structure that operated with an efficiency that no terrestrial model could replicate. They weren't collaborating. They were merging into something new. Something that no longer needed leaders. Something that no longer argued. Something that simply acted. With each passing cycle, the lunar prison seemed less like a human experiment and more like the place where an unknown form of organization was emerging, a distributed intelligence, a species in transition. It took Earth weeks to understand what had happened. When communication systems went down, there was talk of technical failure. When attempts to reconnect failed, mutiny was considered. But when satellites sent back the first images of the lunar surface, the control rooms fell completely silent. The colony was not destroyed. It was being rebuilt. Satellite records show extensive modifications to the Shackleton crater, precisely excavated sectors, new circuits that were not in the original plans. Industrial-scale thermal and electromagnetic activity. Analyses identified construction patterns that do not correspond to habitability. They correspond to manufacturing. In the cycles prior to the blackout, access to specific databases was detected. Records of personnel involved in the project, locations of ground facilities, communication routes between security agencies, plans for critical infrastructure, and something even more disturbing, complete program files. Classified documents, recordings of behavioral adjustment sessions, contracts, financial transfers, signed authorizations, all the names. None of that data was necessary for survival on the moon. All of it was necessary for two things: to return and to expose. The projections are devastating. The inmates know every security system from the inside. They have survived in an environment that would kill any unprepared human being. Their bodies have adapted. Their coordination surpasses any known human response simulation. And they have access to technology that no Earth government provided them with. They are building it themselves. But the military threat is not the only one. If they return, they bring with them the complete files of the program. Contracts, transfers, signed authorizations, recordings. World public opinion believes the official version, a humanitarian security program. It does not know what really happened there. It does not know who financed it. And it does not know how much money was moved to make it happen. There are names in those files. Powerful names. Names that cannot afford to be revealed. Those responsible for the project now face two threats: a force they cannot stop, and a truth they cannot control. No distress signals are detected, no coded messages, no requests or warnings. Just activity, growing activity. Orbital telescopes captured the latest confirmed data. Movement on the outer surface. Components moved from internal modules to launch pads that were never officially built. The most optimistic estimates speak of months, the most realistic of weeks. Today, the Shackleton crater remains sealed off, self-sufficient, completely disconnected. What lives up there no longer fits the concept of internal, nor prisoner, not even human. What lives up there is a society that was tortured, experimented on, and abandoned. A society stronger than any terrestrial army, more united than any nation, with complete evidence of what was done to them, and with all the names of those who ordered it. What began as an isolation experiment has led to the formation of a collective entity adapted to an environment that Earth cannot replicate or control. The question is no longer what happened in the Lunar Penal Colony. The question is whether Earth will survive the truth when they return.